Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Level Up with Lee. We've got a great guest today, Miss Franmicka Ford of the Ford Realty Group. Hey, Franmicka, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Lee. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So
Good.
let's start, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Okay. Well, I am from Atlanta area. I've been here pretty much all my life, besides college. I live in the DeKalb County Avondale Estates area, and I'm married with a daughter, and just been doing real estate for now about 18 years. So
Gotcha. Now, you mentioned here in Atlanta, except for going to college, where'd you go to college?
I went to Florida and A&M University, FAMU.
Oh, Rattler. All right. Okay. Down in Tallahassee,
Exactly.
the city of hills. Okay. Nice. So what led you to a career in real estate? So you're out of FAMU, you're doing your thing. What led you to a career in real estate?
Well, you know what? I always knew that I wanted to get my real estate license. However,
Okay.
I didn't get it until after college. And I started at Bank of America briefly, and then I went to work
Okay.
for a real estate attorney's office. And I had already been working on getting my license. So I knew before college that I wanted to get my real estate license, but I just chose to get it after going to college. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, that's kind of what started it.
Okay, gotcha. Now, the question I think is on everybody's mind, and we're seeing a lot of it. And when I talk to clients, it becomes an issue. Home prices have gone up and just literally skyrocketed during the pandemic. So, why are some of the reasons that home prices are going up so much?
Well, I mean, pretty much it's just, I mean, supply and demand. So the demand is definitely here as far as, having low inventory. And we've been in a seller's market prior to the pandemic. So we were already in a seller's market for maybe like, 3 or 5 years prior to that. However, I think just when the pandemic hit, we didn't know which way it was going to go. So what happened was the inventory seemed like it gotten even lower because people were scared to put the homes on the market, or they didn't know what to do. So at that time, it just went crazy as far as people just bidding over pricing, bidding over the list price and things of that nature. So that's basically continued for the market to kind of, keep going and the pricing increasing. So that's basically what ended up happening during the pandemic.
Gotcha. Now, one thing I think I've heard from a couple of places is this idea that, you've got people from, I'll say, New York or Chicago that have maybe moved to areas like Atlanta, and they look at the prices of the houses here in Atlanta and just think, compared to what I'm used to, this is still cheap,
Exactly.
and have a greater willingness to pay more for the houses. Is that something that you're seeing as a result of people maybe being a little bit more mobile from the
That is
pandemic?
yeah, that is exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing people from, like you said, California up north, and they're coming here and saying, okay, hey, this is, for this a price, we can get this for this amount, and it's extremely cheap. So we're having them come and they're actually, paying the price and paying over for the housing. Whereas, people that's already here, it's a little challenge for them because, now the first time home buyer prices has, instead of being 150, it's now, over 250 starting out. So it's a lot harder just because people are coming here and they have cash and they're paying cash and they're paying, even if we're over appraisal, as far as going over on the houses, they're paying a little bit more, and they end up having, they have cash flow because they're selling their homes up there and it's easier. So. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, interesting. Now, so do you think we're going to continue to see the prices go up on houses, this year and next year? What? Now, I know you don't have a crystal ball, or at least you haven't shared that with me. But assuming you don't have a crystal ball, do you think the prices are going to continue to go up on us?
I do. I wish I did have a crystal ball, but I do think we are, thinking that prices are going to continue. It just seems like it's a cycle of basically Atlanta, kind of leveling out, and actually the pricing keep, increasing instead of it actually going down or anything. This may be our new normal. So it does seem like the pricing is kind of here to stay. Of course, like you said, with the crystal ball, of course, something major would have to happen. But for the most part, it looks like these prices are kind of our new normal.
Gotcha. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you a question that might be a little touchy amongst what I would describe as traditional real estate professionals, but we see these commercials all the time about the new way to do real estate in Opendoor or Redfin or some of those things. What do you think candidly about some of those types of companies? And Why should our viewers choose working with someone like yourself, aside from that great smile, versus Opendoor?
Mhm. Ooh, yeah, that is a little sensitive. We call these companies and, Zillow and Open Door, distractors. They come into the market and they distracting things. They're trying to, shake some things up. And it's somewhat good and somewhat bad. The good thing is, they come in and they kind of help, home buyers out sometimes when they don't have to do repairs or anything like that. The thing about it is they still offer, I mean, they put like, these hefty prices as far as they automatically have a 5% and then they have their repairs on top of it. So what you end up thinking that you're getting for these pricing, if they offer you, say, we're just going to say a $250,000 house you sell, and they may come in and offer you 280. However, they have a, $20,000 on top of that. So realistically, you're only getting that same amount. Whereas if you go with the realtor, you actually, or, they put it on the market and we can actually, get you the list price plus more, just being in this market, without having to, pay the different repair costs and all that, different things that come up. So it makes for an easier, quicker sale, they say somewhat, but at the same time, it's the relationship and it's the actually having that connecting experience with the realtor and, live people. Whereas it's just like, okay, you send me your property, show me some pictures and we're going to sell it and you're stuck with that price. So
Yeah.
just depends on, what's your preference. So.
Okay. Okay. Good deal. Now, one of the things that I seem to remember hearing before is that maybe if you're going to try to sell a house, you should sell in the springtime or maybe in the summertime. What are some of those things that we should look for? Is there really a better time of the year to try to sell your home than another?
Yeah, I think for years, I mean, people always thought, you want to put your house on the springtime. It needs to be ready for spring or, market for summer. Just because, it just really depends. Right now, it doesn't matter. You can go I mean, November, December, holidays, it does not matter. However, typically people want to be in before the school system, before, the new school system starts. So that's why a lot of people move right after the school year ends and then within that spring or summer market because it gives them a little bit more flexibility for families and things of that nature. So it's still a great time, but however, I would say nowadays any day is a good time. Any month, you're still going to. Right now, we're needing homes, so it's not going to be a good time. You know what I'm saying, as far as springtime is not just the best time anymore. It can be fall, winter, summer, spring, it doesn't matter. Anytime.
Gotcha. 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 Now, you mentioned schools. So, are homes that are in certain school districts, is that still a really big driver of where people are looking? Or has that changed much that you've seen during the pandemic?
You know what? Better schools are always going to drive. It doesn't matter as far as, of course, with the inventory, people, still need homes in different areas. And some people are still, going to private school and different things of that nature. However, there's always been a trend to see that, schools in better districts, homes in better districts, as far as the school system, they're going to go a little bit faster or, the pricing is going to be totally different. However, like I said, right now it's just it depends on what people want. Do you want, a bigger home and to be in this, school area, or do you want to, have a smaller home and it be in a better school district? So it really just depends on the area and people's preference. So
Gotcha. Okay. Good deal. So now let me ask you another question. So, like a lot of people, I imagine that may be watching, and primarily my wife, but I sit there with her some nights and I'm watching all the different shows on HGTV,
yeah.
flip or flop. Let me ask you, do you watch and do you have a favorite on HGTV?
I watch HGTV. I don't have a favorite. I watch all of them too.
Okay.
Just kind of see what what's going on and what people are doing, and especially because it's not only giving just the Atlanta market, is giving some other cities and states and stuff. So I enjoy it just because I love real estate, so I will watch it. And um,
Okay.
it gives people I don't know. Sometimes it's kind of a false intention, but I mean it's a great show, and hey, well, all of them are great shows. So,
Gotcha. Okay. So now we watch these shows and we see people maybe they're going to buy a house and, add on a bathroom or a new thing that I've learned, an ensuite. I didn't, it's like, oh, I just thought they meant a bathroom, but okay, we've got an ensuite. Are there some things that if you're looking to sell your house at some point down the road where you actually generally get, your money back, if you will, in terms of the investment? So, maybe I spend $5,000 for whatever sort of upgrade to my home, but that doesn't necessarily result in the home value increasing. So what sorts of things should people look at if they really want to try to increase the value of their home, or should they even bother to do it at all in this current market environment?
Oh, well, I mean, there's several ways. So pretty much, kitchen and bathrooms are always going to be win, mainly because those are the higher ticket items as far as doing repairs. So if you can always, do upgrades to your kitchen and do upgrades to your bathroom, it's going to always be a winner. That will really add more value onto your homes a lot of times. In this day and time, sometimes it necessarily didn't have to be that you do any rehabs or anything. Just a nice, clean home right now, because a lot of times now people, because they are watching the HGTV shows, they want to go in and they want to do their own things. So it necessarily didn't mean that you have to, do all the repairs. But if I would suggest, for people to where they put the money at, I would say kitchen and bathrooms are going to always lead to your bigger returns.
Okay, gotcha. Now, so kitchen and bathroom, and again, watch a lot of these shows, and there's a new show. Well, I think it's a new show. It might not be a new show, but one where you've got a situation where somebody made some improvements to their home, and maybe they had a bad contractor. As a real estate professional, do you provide assistance to your clients with, hey, listen, here's somebody you can work with to do some repairs or upgrades on your home, and I think he or she is a reliable firm to work with? Or is that something you just kind of leave off the table?
No, no, no. I recommend all my vendor. I have a vendor list of, electrician, plumbers, painters, everything that I can possibly, anything I can think about in a home. I suggest those to my clients, just because it makes for easier transaction. So therefore it's a lot easier. Of course, people will go on and, say, okay, well, I have somebody that can do this for cheaper or things of that nature, or somebody that I've seen some work. So I do, suggest, hey, let's get a couple quotes in, let them come in and let's see their work too. Let's see what they can do, as well as we need to make sure they have some references. Because a lot of times, people are just saying they can do all of this stuff. And you see a lot of court cases where people having to go to court because they didn't do what they promised. So, but I do offer a full vendor list for my clients on, pretty much anything, any and everything.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Now we've spent a fair amount of time talking about, people selling homes, but there's always somebody on the other side of the table, so to speak. In this hot market, because I've talked to some people that have done all sorts of things, including baby pictures, if you will, in their sales package to try to gain an edge. Is there any kind of advice you'd give to people to get some sort of advantage if they're trying to buy a home in this ultra competitive market? Or is it really just simply show me the money and none of those other things seem to matter?
Mhm. I do. I think show me the money is very important, but I do think, as far as buyers, just to be ready and realistic. And when I say that, I just meaning, because the inventory is so low. Don't go in and ask for the world, because you're not going to get it. As far as closing costs, nobody's paying closing costs. They haven't, and and nowadays sellers saying, okay, well, why should I have to? My friend didn't pay it. Somebody down the street, they didn't do it. So because so many people are talking, it's just like, okay, you need to be realistic on what's going on with the market, and do your homework. Don't, like I said, don't ask for everything. Try to, go in with quick due diligence days. You need to have your financing in place. It needs to just be a good, clean, solid offer, and you need to be ready to, if something comes back on your inspection, you may have to do some of those repairs. Whereas, normally the seller would have said, okay, I'll offer you, some kind of concession in order to, make it worthwhile. Now they're saying, okay, well, I'll just put it back on the market and let another person comes that they want to, do it, and I don't have to pay for it. So I'm being realistic, because it's so many other buyers out there. So, like I said, just doing your homework and basically being ready to buy and being serious about what you want.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Now, let me ask you another question, and it's somewhat related. One part of the situation is being ready, and part of being ready, the phrase I was told a number of times by somebody in the market is being a ready, willing, and able buyer.
Mhm.
So, for most people, again, some people coming from different areas of the country are paying in cash, but for the rest of those who are having to go through the process of obtaining a mortgage, interest rates are starting to go up. I know we're fairly early in that cycle, but have you begun to see issues where people can't buy as much home as they could before? Or does it seem like that's really not much of a factor so far?
Not just yet, I wouldn't say. However, I think that will happen this year, because for a few years our interest rates have been low, so they could go in and can afford things. So I just hadn't seen it happen with my buyers yet, but I can see that probably will be happening soon, because I think a few weeks ago the rates have gone up just a tad bit, and we're scheduled to go up a couple more times this year. So I am telling my buyers to go ahead and let's prepare to see what we can do right now before it does go up, because that will happen where you may not
Gotcha.
be able to qualify for the same amount just because that interest rate has gone up already. So I
Okay.
think that will happen this year.
Okay. Any other thing that buyers should do to prepare themselves to be able to buy a home?
Ooh, I definitely think as far as like savings, money.
Okay.
That would be one thing, because you need to, like you said, be prepared and be ready in order um to be ready for to do whatever, if you have to pay it for whatever, if you don't, in order to not say to have to do any repairs to do repairs to the home, things of that nature. So I would say definitely savings, and just doing the homework as far as knowing where they want to go, and what's important. And I mean, is it a school, or is it, do they have to have a basement, or, things of that nature. So I definitely thinking, say do your homework, find out the areas that you actually want to be in. But for most part, definitely make sure that your credit score is high so that you can try to get the best rate that you possibly can, and definitely have your down payment and your savings together. So therefore you'll be ready.
Gotcha. And is there sort of a minimum credit score that people would need to have typically in order to be able to buy a home? Or what are some of the factors around that?
Minimum, normally, I mean, because people say, oh, you can buy a home at 580, but it's so much stuff that comes with it. And so,
Okay.
like a standard credit score, I would say between like 620 and 640. Normally with
Okay.
those, you can at least get your a decent loan, and your rate should be okay. Of course, in order to, go conventional or something, you normally need to have at least a, 680 above or whatever. But as the higher you can get your credit score, the better. That would be the all-time thing. I mean, like if I could tell you to work on anything else, it would definitely be to have your credit score as high as you can possibly have it, and to have your money set aside.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Now, so let's have a little fun. You're a real estate professional and you sold hundreds of homes and you've helped people buy hundreds of homes. And I know you spent most of your life here in Metro Atlanta.
Mhm.
But if we had a magic wand and said, you know what? I'm going to buy a house in what place, and tell our viewers a little bit of what that house might look like.
If I was going to buy a house in another
Yeah.
state, in another,
Anywhere, anywhere.
hmm,
Where, if you could buy a house anywhere you wanted to, where would it be and what might it look like?
I have a few places.
Oh, okay.
I just was talking to couple friends about this. One place would be California, just because the
Okay.
California homes are just like dreamy.
Okay.
As
Okay.
far as
Gotcha.
being, open, and just, you can walk out to the pool and it's so much sunlight and things of that nature. But
Okay.
one of my other, places I'm actually in the process of doing is actually buying a home over in Dominican Republic. So just basically being able to buy rental property somewhere else where my family can go, and then I can actually rent it out and stuff too. So something near the beach, something that's, like lots of sunshine, and open area, everything that we see on TV that's like, oh my goodness, gorgeous and everything. So between California and just like, a few of the, out of the country areas.
Well,
So
tropical areas.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. So you bring up a good question. So, for those people that might be watching and thinking about buying some property in another country, are there any things in particular that they should look for that are different than say, hey, listen, I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, I'm going to buy a new home versus I'm going to buy a home in the Dominican Republic or Bahamas or any other foreign country? Anything else they should look for in particular or be careful of?
Mm, I wouldn't necessarily be careful, but I mean, well, I guess it's different in different places. And when you're doing out of the country, it is as far as the financing is a little bit different. So you would
Okay,
have to have the financing in place, and then having the cash flow, just because a lot of things are totally different when you're buying in other places. So
gotcha.
that
Okay.
is that's definitely something to consider. Just as far as the financing, thinking about that.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. So now, Mika, we're here towards the end of the show. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you think our viewers should absolutely know as it relates to buying a home or selling a home, particularly in this competitive market we
I think we covered pretty much everything.
got? Okay.
I think for the most part.
Good deal. I'm going to give myself a B plus then for asking good questions this
Yeah,
week.
you asked
So
all the great questions, all the
good
hard
deal.
questions too.
Okay. Good. Good deal. So Mika, again, thank you for being on with us today. Look forward to having you on again. And until next time, be well, everyone.